everybody. Thank you for joining me. It looks a bit dark, doesn't it? Never mind, it's not dark in here. Anyway, thank you for joining me tonight. I'm Kath Armstrong. Let's start that again. I'm Kath Armstrong from the Cheapskates Club, and I'm so glad that you are joining me in the kitchen to talk about forever foods, because there are some foods that just last forever and ever and ever, and people get hung up on best before dates and use by dates and cans versus packets versus freezing versus bottling versus pressure canning versus whatever else. But there's no need, because a lot of the basic foods that we have in our kitchens last indefinitely. So even if they have that little BBD, best before date, stamped on the package, it's just for advice. And until about 35 years ago, that didn't exist. So there were probably things in your mum's kitchen and in your grandma's kitchen that had been there for a gazillion years, but they were still good and they would still use them on occasion. So I'm going to go through what I think are, in my stockpile, the best things that last indefinitely, the forever foods, with you tonight, and see just how many of them you have in your kitchen. And then you can decide whether you can buy more when it's on sale, because it's not going to go off. It's not going to go bad. It's not going to go musty, moldy, mildewy, whatever. And you'll be able to keep it. And when you can do that, and when you can stock up when things are on sale, that's when you save money. If you can get stuff on half price, you buy two, you're paying the price that you would normally pay for one, so you're actually building your stockpile slowly, one half price thing at a time. It's a really good way to go. So do we know, I haven't got comments tonight, so do you know who's with us? She's going to pass it up to me so I can see who's here. I can't read that, darling. Sorry, guys. I still can't read it. Kerry and no, other way. Oops. We've got Kerry and we've got lots of people. Lorraine, Leonie, Judy, Paula, Kathy, Maureen. I really should do something about these glasses, folks. Michelle, Freya, Priya, cool, Evelyn, Margarita, Pamela, Julie, gosh, big list tonight. Teresa, Alicia, Beryl, Veronica, Rebecca, cool. So if you all got full pantries overflowing with stuff that you think you're probably never going to be able to use, so you're going to throw it out because it's reached that best before date, we'll find out. There are two things that you probably have in your pantry right this very minute that last indefinitely. They will never go off if they're stored properly. And that is salt. And where have I put it? Over here, let me do some rearranging. Sugar. Good old white sugar. Salt and white sugar will not go off. Do you love these labels, folks? Can you see that? That's so good. Hannah found them for me at the reject shop for my little spice jars when I was redoing the spice jars. And so I had to buy the packet. And then, because I struggle, I struggle to see stuff and read stuff. Then I thought, hang on a minute, I have these labels and they're big and I can read them. I can read them off the shelf from here. Woo! So I spent New Year's Eve redoing all the labels on the canisters in the pantry. Now I know what they are. I don't have to get up close and personal with them. So sugar, sorry, back to the topic, sugar and salt will last indefinitely. Now, I will say that if you keep it in that packet or you keep it in that packet, they won't last indefinitely. We all know that moisture is not kind to salt. It's not kind to sugar. And we can't get away. In Australia, we can't get away from moisture in the air. It doesn't matter. Even in central Australia, the middle of the desert, there's still humidity at times, and it will affect your salt and sugar. So if you want to keep it for longer than, you know, a month, a couple of months, whatever, decant it into Tupperware container or similar, Decor, whatever you've got, Rubbermaid, Starmaid, whatever they're called, with an airtight lid. And for longer term, put it into a glass jar with an airtight lid. If it's a preserving jar, you can vacuum seal them. You can vacuum seal it in a bag if you want to, but keep it dry and keep the air out of it, and it will last indefinitely. So let me see what the date on this one was, because I just ripped this off the shelf, and it does have a date on it somewhere because I checked it once before. It's probably tucked up under here and I don't want to open it because I'm going to use it soon. Oh, can't see it.
It's on the front.
It's on the front. Oh, okay. Guess what? Doesn't have a best before I use date. Has a package date. So this sugar was packaged on the 15th of March 2017. So it's been sitting on my shelf in my stockpile for nearly 3 years.
Over 3 years.
No, 3 years in, coming up 3 years in March. It's actually soft as anything. Now, we don't use a lot of sugar. We don't eat a lot of sugar in terms of putting it. None of us have it in our hot drinks, and we don't have it on cereals or anything like that. So the sugar for me is usually for baking and jam making. Jam, marmalade, use heaps, but otherwise it doesn't. So that's how long that's been here, and it's still soft as anything. No moisture's got into that, thank goodness. So it will keep for a long time. I would suggest that anything that comes in a packet like that, you might want to transfer, if you're thinking of long-term storage, transfer it into something that's airtight, just to be on the safe side. It helps. So we'll do the sugar, because we've done sugar. So, because you all know I have this huge stockpile. It's actually not that huge. The ladies that have seen it might think it's a lot, but it's really not that probably much. No, it's not huge. It's not spread out all over the house. It's all on 2 sets of shelves in my laundry, and it works for us. So, okay, now, Forever Foods are shelf stable. So all that means is you can put it on the shelf and forget about it. They don't need to be refrigerated. They don't need to be frozen. You can just put the packets on the fridge, on the shelf, and forget about them until you need to use them. And that's really good for someone like me, or if you live remote and you do quarterly shopping, 6 monthly shopping. We have friends that live about 300 k's from Weipa, and she shops twice a year. She has this massive big shop. It's even bigger than mine. They're on a station, and so they have lots of visitors and they have lots of staff, and so her shop is like a little supermarket, and they get it twice a year, comes in on the barge to Weipa, and then it's trucked down to them. So her stuff needs to be shelf stable. It just means that it can sit on the shelf, and that's a really good thing, because we've been talking a lot in the forum, in the members forum, about what you do if the power went out for any length of time. We have so many people in Australia at the moment without power because of the bushfires. In fact, one woman contacted me this morning and said, yeah, her power was back on. She was so excited that her power was back on, and could I catch her up with what was going on, which I was happy to do. But, you know, if you have a freezer full of food, and I have three freezers full of food, and the power goes out for any more than 24 to 48 hours, depending on the weather, that's thousands of dollars that's got to be binned or composted or taken to the tip or burnt or something, because it's inedible. So if you can have shelf-stable foods, that's a really comforting thought for things like the power going out or the zombie apocalypse or whatever is about to happen. All right, now, my very favourite forever food is another one that most of you probably already have in your homes. No, but that's a good one. It's been around for many thousands of years, and it's humble honey. Now this one's nearly empty, but we have full ones over in our stockpile. Honey. Do you know, back in the early 19th century, late 19th century, early 20th century, when they were discovering the tombs in the pyramids in Egypt, they found honey. It had been sealed in jars, sealed with beeswax in jars, and it was still perfectly, after they tested it, perfectly good to eat. It had candied a little, as you would expect after a few thousand years, but it was still good. Honey is an amazing thing. Now, we eat a lot of honey. I like it on my toast. I use it sometimes as a sweetener in puddings and cakes and things, in biscuits. It's really good if you're making ginger snaps, to put honey in them. But I also like honey because it's actually one of those foods that crosses over into the medicine type zone. So just your standard pure honey, real honey. Now, after the scandal of the last few years with honey, we really need to be careful about which honey we buy, where it comes from, and make sure it's real honey. So if you've got a beekeeper somewhere near you and you can actually get raw honey, go for it, because it will be brilliant. It'll taste divine. It'll last forever, and it will be full of all those really good things. Honey is really good. You get a cut in your finger, dab some honey on it, stick a Band-Aid on it. Next day, it'll be almost healed. Now, you all know that I'm a huge fan of Manuka honey, which tastes awful. Kids don't like it, but we suffer through it. The medicinal properties of honey are amazing. It's an antibacterial wonder. So keeping honey in the house, even if you don't eat it, for things like that, sore throats, teaspoon of honey, even if you've got to dissolve it in a little hot water, a teaspoon of honey down the throat every couple of hours eases a sore throat. And even ordinary raw honey will fight bacteria. Manuka will do it really quickly, but even raw honey will fight the bacteria for you, and it's a brilliant thing. We love honey. So it's shelf stable. Now, I'm pretty sure that I don't need to keep it for a few thousand years, but it's sort of reassuring to know that, it will last. Honey. Now, when you get your honey, if it's in little buckets like that, or if you buy it in bulk from a Whole Foods or health food shop or something, bring it home and put it into sterilized glass jars and just screw the lids on. You don't need to vacuum seal them or water bath them or pressure can them. Just screw the lids on tight. As long as that jar is sterilized and really, really clean, your honey will be fine. Keeping it in glass as opposed to plastic. Plastic will break down over time. It also, we just went to sleep. It also isn't necessarily the best thing for your long-term food storage. Even the safer plastics for long-term food storage, try to move them into glass. They just do better. The foods last better. And glass is recyclable, it's reusable, it's really easy. All right, now vanilla. Let me grab the vanilla if I can see it. Yes, I can. I'll be back in a sec. Here we go. Vanilla, real vanilla, not imitation vanilla. Now this is my homemade vanilla, what's left of this batch, and that's just the split vanilla beans in vodka. It smells really good. It smells really good, doesn't it? It smells good, tastes great. It will last forever like this. It's an indefinite food. And vanilla is really important in your food storage because it's a flavor enhancer. It's a flavor on its own. It's actually good in cleaning. Do you remember in the olden days, your mum, your grandma used to clean the fridge out and they'd wipe it out faithfully with water and bicarb, and then they'd run a cloth with vanilla over it and to wipe over the fridge, and it always smelled really good. I'm going to drink. So make your own vanilla with vodka and vanilla beans, or buy pure vanilla. Now, buying pure vanilla is really expensive, but it's an option if you don't want to make it. But vanilla lasts. It's another indefinite, I'm running out of space, indefinite food. All right, so we've done sugar, we've done salt. Another one that I don't have here is maple syrup. Now, pure maple syrup can be really expensive. There are two options for most of us for buying it, and that's Aldi. Sell their maple syrup for about $6, $5.95 for the bottle. That's a 500 ml bottle, and it's in glass, so it will keep. Or Costco, if you have a Costco membership, or you know someone that goes to Costco, sell their Kirkland maple syrup, and it runs to about $18 or $19 for
2 liters.
a litre and a bit, about 1,200 mils, I think it is, in their little jug. Now theirs is in plastic, so you would need to bring it home and pour it into clean, sterilised glass jars. And I'm going to do a video on how to sterilise jars and lids and rings and things properly, because there seems to be a bit of confusion about how to do that. So I will do a video about that. It's not complicated. It is time consuming. You can't decide to make your jam now and not have sterilised jars. You do the sterilising, then start the jam making. Okay, trust me, I've learnt. So maple syrup is really good too. It's good for flavouring. You can add things, you know, it's nice in coffee. If you don't have sugar, you can add it to your coffee or to your milk and make a nice drink. You can use it in cake batters and pancakes. It's not just to drizzle over stuff. It's a really handy sweetener. Now we'll get to Hannah's popcorn. So, now this is popcorn. This is real popping corn. Let me see. See, you've got corn kernels here. These are the popcorn kernels. I buy it in bulk from the Whole Foods store. By the kilo, it's really cheap. It's about $5 or $5.50 a kilo. Really cheap to buy your popcorn like this. This is not microwave popcorn. The microwave popcorn that we were showing when we were doing the hampers does not last indefinitely. It will have a best before date on it. I'd pretty much stick to that date.
If it's the buttered one.
If it's the buttered one especially, yeah. But this stuff just lasts and lasts and lasts. Now, you can use it for popcorn, obviously, but there are other uses for it. So learn how to use your popcorn, but it's really nice to have something that you know is just going to last and not go off in your cupboard. You don't have to worry about it. Right. Another thing that lasts indefinitely is tea. Good old tea. Now, I was speaking about the zombie apocalypse. If that happens and you are a tea drinker, I'd be pretty sure that tea will be one of the first things to leave the supermarket shelves. So keep a supply of tea. Now, I have tea bags here. They will last a long time, and they are sealed in their box. But if you are planning for longer than a long time food storage, buy the loose tea and vacuum seal it in jars, and it will last and last and last. And black tea lasts better than green tea, but green tea will last too. So tea. So when you stock up and it's on half price, your favourite Tetley extra strong is on half price, and you think I can only buy one box because I don't drink enough, it'll go stale. No, it won't. It'll keep. It'll last on your shelf. Alrighty. Corn flour. Real corn flour, not the pretendy one. Get the real corn flour. See, I love these labels. You can read them. Corn flour. So good. Corn flour. Corn flour is versatile. You use it in cooking. You use it, put some in your egg whites to stabilise them when you're making meringues. You use it to thicken sauces and gravies. I use it in my, when I'm doing the instant custard packets when we go camping. corn flour is a really good ingredient in the kitchen. It's also really good on babies' bottoms when they've got a sore bottom. They've got a bit of nappy rash or a little bit of prickly heat. Dust them with some corn flour. Sprinkle them with some corn flour. Sounds funny, doesn't it? And it's soothing and it's gentle. And real corn flour is really silky. So if your corn flour is not silky, then it's probably not the real corn flour. So look for real corn flour in your supermarket, and it lasts indefinitely. Oh, I'm running out of space. No, I'm not. Okay, another one of Hannah's favourites, soy sauce. Who would have thought soy sauce would outlast the zombies, the cockroaches, the atomic bombs, the nuclear wars? Were soy sauce. Good old soy sauce. Now, soy sauce is handy to have in your pantry for flavouring, obviously. It enhances dim sims, it enhances fried rice, it enhances gravies and casseroles and things like that. And it keeps, because of the salt content, because it is so salty. So that's why it lasts. But it's a really handy thing to have. I don't have it here.
We're out of soy sauce.
Oh, you were out of soy sauce. Well, I wasn't looking for soy sauce. I was looking for powdered milk. I didn't get it out. Powdered milk. Powdered milk will last indefinitely. Who'd have thunk it? But there's a trick to it. If you're only going to keep it for probably 6 to 12 months, pop it into a Tupperware type container or a Rubbermaid steamer, whatever you've got in the pantry, that's fine. Don't leave it in the bag that it comes in or the box that it comes in. It needs to be put into glass for long-term storage. So if you're planning on keeping it for longer than the 6 months or so in your pantry, in your stockpile, pour it into some glass jars and seal them up nice and tight. Pop a bay leaf on the top, screw the lid on tight, it'll be fine. It'll keep indefinitely. It's really good. Now, I was going to say, some of them keep better than others. So your full cream will not last nearly as long as your low fat, no fat skim powdered milks. That's because of the fat content. Fats and oils go rancid over time, and even though it's only a tiny bit, it does happen, but it takes a very long time. It will take years, so probably 3 to 4 years on the shelf, it will be fine. Flour. Here we go. Flour. This is how I've been buying my flour, in nice big boxes like this. Get rid of this stuff. Then I put it into a Tupperware container. This goes, when I get these home, they go into the freezer until I need the freezer space. So sometimes they're there for a week, sometimes they're there for a couple of months. I just pop it in like that in a paper sack. I do that to get rid of any weevils or bugs and things that are in it before I put it into my pantry, because anyone that's had a weevil infestation will know almost impossible to get rid of. You just about have to scrap everything and start from the very beginning. So I freeze it all. Now, on the shelf, it's fine like this for 12 to 18 months. If I want to keep it longer, it needs to either go into bags and be vacuum sealed, or jars and be vacuum sealed. And it will last and last and last. Now, this is plain white flour, and that's what will last. Wholemeal flour will last for a while, but not as long. And again, that comes back to the oils from the grain. The oil will go rancid over time. Now, while it's not a huge amount of oil that's in it, there is some oil in it, and it will go rancid over time. So it will only last probably about 2/3 as long as your plain white. So there we go. I'll get rid of the flour. Okay, dried beans, of course, so kidney beans and chickpeas, garbanzos, chickpeas, whatever, anything like that, lentils, all those dried things, vacuum seal them, and they're right up there with soy sauce. They'll outlast anything as long as they stay dry. They are really good to go. And of course, they're handy things to have because they're full of proteins, they're full of vitamins and minerals that are really important to us. And they are really versatile. They don't deserve the bad rap that they've got, but they're really versatile and they're handy. They're good meal stretchers, but in a pinch, they're good as a meal. So dried beans, in a jar and vacuum seal them, or even in the plastic bags and vacuum seal them, will last for years and years and years. All right, now, a couple of things that don't last quite as long, and you sort of wonder why. Your pastas, humble spaghetti, and it's noisy, the noodles. Now, they've got dates on them. They will last probably 6 to 12 months past the date if you keep them dry, but then they start to, the quality starts to change. They don't last as long as you would think they would, and really, it's just dried out flour, although there is egg in good pasta. So that's something that you need to think about rotating fairly often in your food storage. The other thing is rolled oats. Again, it's one of those things that you think would last and last and last and last, but it's a grain. It has a certain amount of oil in it, even as it is. So when you get them home, put them into a container, tip them into a container. This is our rolled oats container. So it holds about 5 kilos, which is probably a winter's worth of oats for us. And so because we use them in a winter, they're used in about 3 months. They just stay in this. But when I want to keep them longer, I weigh them out into 2 kilo lots and vacuum seal them. And that way they will keep probably 12 to 18 months easily, stretch it to 2 years if I keep them in the cupboard and they're dark and cool. Let's get rid of oats. We've done salt. So now we're up to rice. Now, this is white rice. It will outlast the zombies as well because it doesn't have any oil in it. Brown rice, black rice, the wild rices won't last nearly as long. They won't keep as well as long. White rice will last indefinitely, but it must be white rice. And again, you just pop it into a container and keep the air out of it and it will be fine. So there you go. Now, my darling husband's diabetes doctor, I queried whether we should be using brown rice or white rice or whatever, and he assures me that white rice is actually better for him than brown rice. And he gave me a big long technical reason, and I didn't understand any of it. But as long as it's with anything, and especially with diabetics, anything in moderation, so we don't eat nearly as much rice as we used to. But I don't feel bad about eating white rice over brown rice anymore, although I do like brown rice. I like nutty brown rice for fried rice. Spices. Now, the master chefs amongst us, or the gourmets amongst us, might say that spices need to be turfed out after 6 months or so. No. Again, it comes down to how you keep them and how you store them. So I buy them in quite big bags, decant them into the little containers, little jars, and go through these. Every couple of months we refill these. But the big ones, when they come home, are poured into clean, airtight jars, and they're kept in a dark cupboard. So they easily stay really fresh, so that you still get the smell when you lift the lid off, the cinnamon or the basil or the thyme, whatever, you get that whiff, that woof of fragrance. They stay really fresh for a good 12 to 15 months. So if you want to keep them longer, go right ahead. you might find that, especially the dried ones, over time the oils will evaporate, so you might need to use a bit more to get your flavour, but you will still get flavour. We've done spices, we've done rolled oats. All right, what else have I got on my list?
Vegemite.
Yeah. Okay, now there are some things that you might think, like the pasta, that would outlast the zombie apocalypse, that actually don't. And classic things are actually tinned foods. Now, this is tinned tomatoes, and I've got these for another reason, but they have the wrinkle top. These wrinkle tops are not fail safe. They are not explosion proof. They are not meant for long-term food storage. So 2 years max with a wrinkle top.
Past the best before?
Which is probably past the best before, but keep them up to 2 years. But you'll probably notice that the top of the wrinkles will just start to plump up. If you've done that, don't open it, don't eat it, just toss it. Keep your wrinkles, but don't use them more than 2 years past the best before. And keep them somewhere cool because they do burst. Now, the old-fashioned tinned foods that you used to have to crank open with a can opener will keep for much longer. You could probably triple that time and they'll be fine, but they will lose quality. So they'll change colour. If it's fruit, apricots, peaches, pears, they'll start to darken. The flavour might change a little bit depending on what spices are in with them or what seasonings. That might become stronger. So they will change over time. They'll still be safe to eat, but they'll just change over time. Now, I've shown you the tinned tomatoes and the Tetra Pak of tomatoes, and then the little, whatever this is,
Tomato paste.
Of tomato paste, because that's 3 different ways that we're used to getting our canned, for want of a better word, goods. So tins last longer than Tetra Paks, and Tetra Paks will last longer than these sorts of little tubs.
Containers.
Whatever. They're just foil lids. This is sort of sealed down and tight, and that obviously is sealed with a tin. So if you have Tetra Paks, they won't last as long as cans. If you've got tomato paste, pesto, whatever that comes in these little tubs, they won't last much longer past their best before. And it is a best before, it's not a use by, which is a different thing altogether. But I've ripped it off.
Is it on the lid?
26th of Feb 19. So that's about due to be used up. So they won't keep as long. Just bear that in mind, because sometimes these Tetra Paks, especially the diced tomatoes and things like that, come on half price sale and you think it's a really good price, and it often is. Just be aware, if you're going to put it into your stockpile and use it for your food storage, they're not going to last as well, keep as well on the shelf as they would in the tin. Now, 2 more things to show you. Vegemite, which is a bit like soy sauce because it's so full of salt that it's just never going to go off. The taste will change with time. If it's very old, it will be really, really strong. So you won't need nearly as much on your toast. It's still edible. It's still good. It won't make you sick. It won't give you food poisoning or anything like that. But it will, if it's a long way past its date, the taste will change. So just be aware of that. Vinegar is another indefinite food. Now this is just ordinary white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, brown malt vinegar. Any of the vinegars will last indefinitely on your shelf. They don't need to be treated particularly well. They will just be fine. Now if you've got an apple cider vinegar or a good brown malt vinegar, you might find it develops a mother in the bottom. That's fine. You can use that mother to make more vinegar. Start off a new batch if you want to. it's easy enough to do if you've got the vinegar mother. But vinegar is another one of those things that we should all have in our homes because it's good for cleaning, it's good for cooking, it's good on chips.
I don't even like chips.
And I don't even like chips, but it's good on chips. So yeah, it's a good weed killer. It's a good drain cleaner.
Good for nits.
It's good for nits, yes. Head lice and nits, yeah. So vinegar is a handy thing to have, and it will just last and last and last. It's one of the indefinite foods. There you go. So I don't know how many that is. There's quite a few though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 12, 15 different things that you've probably got most of them already in your pantry. You can safely move them into your stockpile or add them to your stockpile and be confident that you won't need to use them in a month or 2 months. They will last, and they will last a long, long time, as long as you look after them and treat them properly. Yeah. So we've got questions, Dom?
Yeah, you can take the tablet.
I can take the tablet.
Oh.
Can I take the tablet? Oh, no, I've gone blank.
Because you press the button.
I pressed the button. Sorry, folks. No, I'm technologically incompetent. All right. What have we got? Yeah, Kerry's made a point there where pressure canners that use tin tomatoes will recan them into jars because, yeah, the acid in the tomato will degrade the lining in the tin. You sort of wonder if it's worth having the lining in the tin these days that they all have. Yes, Patricia, corn flour can be made from wheat or corn, but real corn flour is made from corn and it's gluten-free. And that's the silky one. Julie, tea is fine as long as it is dry. So you keep it dry. And I don't know what I did with my box of tea. It's over here. Keep it dry and cool and dark. Now, if you're not sure, repackage them into airtight jars, get a little oxygen absorber and drop it on the top, and your tea will be fine. Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Pam, how lucky Pam's husband is a beekeeper. They get real honey. Yum. I hope his bees are okay in the fire. Now, I was listening to ABC radio this morning, and a beekeeper's lost 400 of his hives in the fires. It's just about wiped him out. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and there's actually nothing like honey straight from the hive, straight from the honeycomb. Yeah. Maureen's got antique ointment. That's all right. When we were cleaning out my mother's house, we found mercurochrome that I swear was older than me, and we used to call it man or beast in the tin, and I'm pretty sure that was older than me too. That's so funny. Mum swore by those things. Oh, Rebecca's on holidays in Port Vincent. That's really nice. Okay, now let me go through again. Sorry, guys. Try this way. You can tell I'm yeah. Okay, would I be able to do, sorry, what did you want, Teresa? Tip sheet and how long food will last and how to store, please. It's all in the member center members, Senator Teresa. Stock powder, linseed meal, chia seeds, and oat bran. Okay, Maureen. Stock powder won't keep much past about 12 months once it's opened.
Even if you keep it in the freezer?
Oh, well, if you keep it in the freezer, it'll last. If you want to keep stock, buy the stock cubes. The actual, you know, the solid little cubes that you have to smash with a hammer and dissolve in water. They will keep for years and years and years and years. Especially if they're in an airtight jar, a glass jar with a wood screw top lid, they will keep for ages. And it's try and get them that's MSG free, and it's the salt. Again, it's the salt content in them that acts as the preservative. So anything with salt, the soy sauce, the Vegemite, the stock cubes will keep for a very long time. The stock powder isn't as concentrated, so it doesn't keep as well and lasts as well. Now, chia seeds would come under nuts and things, which, because of the oil content in them, they don't keep probably 2 years max if they're sealed properly, stored properly. Peanuts, almonds, macadamias, anything that's really oily would probably be 12 to maybe 18 months at the most. Same with the linseed, oat bran, same deal. All right. Hi, Barb. All righty, so I've caught up. So I was just I just read something there and it's gone. If you're unsure, you can Google it, and there will be a heap of sites that will, food prepper sites and all those sorts of things, but try and choose one that looks slightly more respectable in terms of it's a council website or a health department website or something like that has those information on them, rather than, you know, Joe Blogs the prepper with his gun over his shoulder and whatever. And I'm not saying they don't know what they're talking about, because they probably do. I'm sorry, that was insulting, wasn't it? Because they do. But you want something that is accurate. So if you're not sure, look it up, do your research. It's all out there. We've never lived in a time where we've had so much information at our fingertips, and it's so easy and inexpensive to get. So yeah, but just think, if it's a food that has an oil in it or is slightly oily, it's not going to last as long, be shelf stable as long as the dry foods without the oil and things in them. So even your tins and your bottles of oil, so your vegetable oils, your olive oils and things, keep them, if they dark bottles, if they have to come in bottles, preferably they come in tins. And I know that's old-fashioned, but the light affects oils a lot too. So if you can only get them in glass bottles or plastic bottles, keep them in a dark cupboard and keep them cool, and they will last a bit longer. But if you can get them in tins and again in the dark cupboard and cool, they'll last much longer, much past their best before date. But they're things that you look, if you open it and it smells funny and you dip your finger in and go and it tastes funny, then you know not to use it. You know, that's my sort of, oh, of course, if you open it and there's something growing on the top, then you know not to use it too. But if you open it, there's nothing growing on the top and you're not sure if it smells funny and it tastes funny, then don't use it. It's not worth making yourself or your family or your visitors or anyone else sick over, you know, $23 worth of olive oil or, you know, $4 worth of flour or something. Not that flour will make them terribly sick, but you know what I mean. So yeah, all right. That's it for now. Flavoured teas won't last long at all, especially if it's got chopped chips in it.
Chocolate chip tea.
And chocolate, cocoa, cocoa powder, pure cocoa powder will keep for about 2 years. Once you open it, again, it's one of those things you put it into a glass jar, seal it up nice and tight, keep it on the shelf. It should be fine for a while. It won't last as long as your black tea. And coffee, ground coffee, instant coffee, doesn't keep more than, once it's open, it goes really quickly. Until it's open, you've probably got 18 months to 2 years. Coffee beans, if you freeze them, will keep indefinitely frozen. If they're not frozen, you need to put them in an airtight container and keep them dark, and you will probably get 2.5 to 3 years from them on the shelf. So coffee doesn't last as long as tea, which is a bit of a shame, but it is what it is, folks. Gravy powder. No, gravy powder won't last long, 12 months. It goes lumpy. It has a lot of additives in it. It has thickeners in it. Once it's open, it needs to go into an airtight container, and it might keep 6 months or so. If you've ever used gravy powder and thought, why hasn't it thickened, it's probably a bit old. But yeah, check the label on what you're looking at. You've got to look at the ingredients and see what's in it. And if it's got lots of additives in the way of thickeners and extra spices, flavors, those sorts of things, then it's not going to last as long. Whether it's on the shelf or opened in your pantry or fridge, it won't last as long, because those things are all things that degrade really quickly over time. So they degrade first. And anything that's highly spiced will, while it may not make you ill, it won't taste nice, because the spices, the herbs that are older tend to get bitter. And so it won't taste as good. But yeah, just check your ingredients list, see what's in it, and take it from there. Look, use your common sense. If you're not sure, ask. But if you look at something and it's supposed to be like, chicken soup, and there's 49 ingredients in it, whether it's in a tin or in a Tetra Pak from the fridge section, you just know there's too many ingredients in it to make it shelf stable. The simpler the things are, the more shelf stable they're going to be, and the better chance you have of them lasting longer. Dates in packets will last unopened a long time. A long time. You might find that they will go like sultanas or mixed fruit, currants, raisins, anything like that. They will go sugary. The sugar will come to the surface, and if they are still sealed properly, they'll just be sugary. If there's been any chance of air getting into them, they will go moldy. But if they're moldy, you will know, because you will see it, but you'll smell it too. So if you open dried fruit that you've had on the shelf for a while and it's just sugary, that's fine. You can use it like that. It's okay. But if it's furry and it smells musty, then no, don't use it. You'll make yourself sick. So the dates are good. Now, dates will harden. They'll get really hard. They can be like little rocks if they're really, really old. So if you're thinking of using them in muffins or a cake or something, you might need to steam them first. And that just means putting them into a bowl, covering them with boiling water, putting a saucer over the top of it, and letting them sit for 15 or 20 minutes until they plump up again. Drain the water off, and they should be soft again. Now, on that note, all right, she's winding me up. But on that note, don't throw the water away. Use it as the liquid in your cake batter. If you're making date muffins or a date loaf, use that water because it's got date flavour in it. So don't throw it away. Custard powder, same deal, Teresa. Custard powder. I use custard powder. It's easy, it's quick. But really, custard powder is just like corn flour with some flavourings and some thickness in it. So it will keep on your shelf probably 2 years or so. But again, you'll find, like with the gravy, you'll go to make the custard and you'll make it up to your normal teaspoon to a cup of liquid, I think is the ratio, and it won't thicken. And that's because it's a bit old. So you might find that you need to use 2 teaspoons of custard powder to the cup of liquid instead of the regular one. It will still work and it won't make you sick. It just changes over time, like we all do. So, all right. Alrighty. Okay. So, gosh. All right, folks. Oops, what have we got here? And Kerry's saying, if you want to extend the gravy powder, mix equal corn flour to the mix. So if you've got 250 grams of gravy powder, add 250 grams of corn flour, put it into a bowl, use your whisk, tip it into your container. Way to go. Or just make your own gravy. It's nothing quite like homemade gravy. Yum. It's really good. And all over Christmas when they had that, they kept playing that Paul Kelly song about who's going to make the gravy. Oh, and I don't like the song, but I like the way of who's going to make the gravy. It just is, because it usually falls to one person in the family to make the gravy. So yeah, just a little side thing there, because you know. Alrighty. Okay. Alrighty. All right, now, and if I missed any questions, folks. Oh, sorry, I thought someone was asking how you make toothpaste. It's tomato paste. Sorry. Canned food without ring pulls. Years. Canned food without the ring pulls will last a long time. They'll still be safe to eat now. You need to check for, if you've had them for 10 years, check for rust. If the can is rusty, don't use it. Check to see it's not dented. If the can is dented, don't use it. And I say don't use dented cans, and this is a throwback to my childhood, but dented cans were a big no-no, because even if you couldn't see it, and even if you couldn't feel it, there's always a chance that a dented can has one tiny, 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 tiny microscopic hole in it that will let air in. And once the air gets into that can, it's going to go off. And that's when you get things like botulism and end up really sick. So dented cans, no-no. Rusty cans, no-no. And if you look at the top and it's sort of blown, as we say blown, it's starting to pop up, don't use it. Same deal. There's air in the can. It's creating a gas. It's going, and put it in the bin. Don't even open it, because it will stink to high heaven. Just bin it straight away. So some things to remember. Now, when I was doing my yearly shop, before I got bitten by the spider, I was going through the cans at Aldi, because honestly, just about every tray I picked up had at least 2 dented cans in it. And it's really annoying. I want those cans have to sit on my shelf for up to 12 months. So I don't want dented cans. I don't want rusty cans. And I don't want to run the risk of making myself or my family sick by using them. So I was there swapping things out all the time, turning cans around, going over them, swapping them. Those ones are dented, get me 2 new ones. So just remember, they'll keep, look for those things. And the older it is, you know, colours change, flavours change, but it's still safe to eat. I can remember going to visit a friend, Narendra, friend in Narendra, or his grandmother in Narendra, years and years and years ago. I wasn't even married. And we were there for Sunday lunch, and it was really lovely. His grandmother was just gorgeous. This lady was just beautiful. And she bottled. She had the Fowler's kit, and she had the old-fashioned kitchen dressers. You know, the remember the old ones, the painted ones with glass doors and the drawers, and it was just beautiful. Can we get one? It was just gorgeous. She had 2 of those, and in her kitchen they were just beautiful. And she had a big larder. She called it the larder, and it was sort of between the kitchen and the laundry. I guess these days we call it the butler's pantry. And it was just shelves, and they were just full of these Fowler's jars of fruits, peaches, pears, apricots, plums. She had tomatoes, she had beans, she had all sorts of things in them. And she took some peaches off, and she gave it to me and said, could I open it? And when I looked at the lid, it had on it peaches 1964. And I just looked at it and I went, 1964? She said, oh, that's when they were done. Now, this would have been 1980, 81, 82. They were delicious. They were really good peaches. We had peaches and ice cream for dessert. And I have to be honest and say I was a little bit nervous. They were fine. So I don't know whether it's because they were in syrup, where I tend to do the bottling these days. I like to do it in water or in juice. But the old-fashioned way used to be in a heavy syrup. We don't do that anymore, thank goodness, because it's so sweet. But yeah, so it does last a long time. It will keep a long time. And her larder was just, to this day, I have larder envy. So yeah, Mrs. Jory's was just beautiful. All right, we've got more. Hang on. Yeah. Mustard will last a long time, Barb. Wet mustards, the prepared mustards like the Dijon, the whole grain, those sorts of things last for a long time. Again, they've got a lot of salt in them, they've got vinegar in them. They will last a very long time. Your dry mustard powder like the Keen's or whatever also keeps a very long time as long as it is kept dark. They come in a tin.
Yeah. Would the tin help it keep longer?
The tin helps. I was just about to say.
I don't know where it is.
No. The tin, they still, Keen's mustard still come in the yellow tin, and that keeps it dark and dry, and that's really important. So pop it in your cupboard, keep it somewhere cool. In this climate at the moment, there's nowhere cool, but cooler, and it will last for a long, long time. Mustard doesn't go off. Once it's open, just remember not to double dip and to use a clean spoon or knife every time so that you're not cross-contaminating, and it'll be fine. It's the same with jams and peanut butter and Vegemite and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, all right, more. A little bit of aloe. And Kerry says to wash all the tops of cans before opening, especially if they've been stored in the garage, because rat urine is deadly. Ugh. I have to be honest and say that I'm not a fan of rats or mice. I'm not afraid to use a throwdown pack or two, and in my shed out the back,
She's 25.
I have them everywhere. Under all the shelves. There's one on each end of every set of shelves and behind the cupboards. And sorry, not my favourite critter. So those throwdown packs from, I think I get them at Bunnings, and they're not expensive, about $5 for 5 or something, worth every penny for me. Okay, so these are your things that, just about forever foods. Now, I'm sure there's more. If I think of more, I'll let you know. But these are the ones I have in my pantry that I could put my hands on pretty much straight away and show you. I didn't cover things like jams and marmalades because we all know they last for a very long time.
Especially when you make your own.
And especially when you make your own, yes. And again, sauces, cordials. If you're going to make cordial, keep it in the fridge. It's good for a couple of weeks. If you want to keep it longer, you have to water bath it. And that's not hard to do. So, but it's really good. And we're coming up to the time of year when summer fruits are going to start getting really cheap because there'll be gluts of them. And we need to be able to take advantage of that because they say that fruit and vegetables are going to skyrocket and meat's going to skyrocket. It can't get much more expensive, surely.
Hasn't that already happened?
Milk's going to go skyrocketing. And so doomsayers. Doomsayers? Is that what we say? Doomsayers? Whatever.
The government.
The government. The doomsayers trying to put fear into us, but we don't need to be afraid. We just need to know what'll last on our shelves. And seriously, folks, if you don't use tomatoes, don't buy them. If you don't use a lot of corn flour and do a lot of baking, then don't buy a lot of corn flour. Just buy what you need. You know, see, I do a lot of baking, so buying my, 50 kilos of flour at a time makes sense for me. It's easy for me. The same with the rice. We use a lot of rice. We use a lot of oats. I don't use, well, we do use a fair bit of Vegemite. I've got 6 of these jars, but we don't use more than that, so I don't buy more than that. Buy to your needs and look to your future. And this is going to make it sound really weird, but you're buying to your current needs and planning for however long you want to build your stockpile for, whether it's a week, a fortnight, a month, 3 months, whatever, so that you can know with confidence that everything you have is going to be used up in time. Because pretty much time will be your enemy when it comes to your stockpile. And that's about it. So thank you again for joining me tonight. I hope I have been of some help to everyone. Kerry, no, Pellegrinos don't open until next Wednesday, the 15th. They open. I can't wait. I thought I'd stocked up enough. I haven't really. So
Sorry.
we'll be waiting for Pellegrinos to open. Yeah, and I'll be chasing up some orders for some bulk fruit. So yeah, alrighty. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments underneath me here on the screen. If you've liked tonight's show, please click the thumbs up for me. That really helps us. Well, it really does my ego wonders, but it really helps keep our place in YouTube and keep us churning through the searches and things, which is what we want to do. If you know someone that you think might like our show, please invite them to come along and watch on Thursday night or next Tuesday night. Get them to subscribe to the channel so that they don't miss out, they don't forget. If you subscribed and you click the little bell, then you will always be notified when we're live or when I've uploaded a new video. And it will be good for you, good for me. We'll all have fun. Okay, so I'm allowed to go. I think I've run out of oomph. I need to go and
Have birthday cake.
have birthday cake. Need to go and rest my voice and do some breathing exercises. This smoke's been a bit hard. Okay, guys, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you on Thursday. And thank you so much for joining me tonight.